If you haven't already been using this technique, you might be shocked at just how much easier it makes playing pieces like this. Hi, I've written out a set of exercises and some fingering suggestions. You'll find a link to the file in the description below. In this video, I'm focusing more on techniques that need to be demonstrated. This piece benefits a lot from using the technique of moving ahead of the notes. Take the left hand in bar 8, for example. The idea is to have your hands and fingers already waiting in position to play each note long before they need to be played. Then play as you jump away to the next position. So you could visualize it as plucking the notes, and the pulling that releases each note is also the beginning of the movement to the next note. They become one and the same movement. First, I suggest practicing hands separately and take a very slow overall tempo. Start by taking your time to find the chord. Before playing it, prepare your hand to play the next. Then pluck as you move to the next chord, treating them as one movement. Don't try to increase the speed, especially not in the early stages. Rather, just move faster between the notes, but without playing the piece any faster. So you're practicing speed without actually playing fast. And for as long as you can, try to maintain the sensation that most of the time you're actually just waiting to play the next note. If you haven't already been using this technique, you might be shocked at just how much easier it makes playing pieces like this. You can also use that same method very effectively to deal with a specific jump you find difficult. I, for example, often miss the last note in bar 59. That would be this bar. And this note, see, I don't have a lot of space here, I often missed it. Now, how do we solve that? Step 1, split the section in two. The first section goes up to the last note before the jump. Up until there, and the next section starts right after that. Step 2, practice each section individually and well separated from the other, and make them as effortless as you can. Leave an extra long rest between them. You can even take your hands right off the keys and treat them as entirely separate movements. Get used to playing through both without that jump ever having the opportunity to give you any trouble. Step 3, play the first section and then move your hands silently in position to start the next section. But don't start it yet. Just add that movement to the end of the section silently. So aim to be there even sooner than you need to be. Step 4, start also playing the next section, but only after having taken your time to get ready. Don't aim to close the gap yet. It's best to just let that come all by itself. And it will if you go through the other steps thoroughly. In this piece, keeping the hands together is quite difficult, especially as you increase the speed. This is where the written exercises should help. So I find a small group of 16th notes and choose them so they can be repeated without interruption. Take this one, for example. This is from bar 18. And then I can repeat it without interruption. And now you can play it in various rhythmic alterations and all kinds of things like that that help play it more fluently. You can aim to also play it faster than needed. Also, I try to find a group that can be played backwards and forwards to create the loop that way. Take this from bar 19, for example. There are countless possibilities, and I wrote many of them in the exercise sheet link below. Good news is many of the exercises for getting the hands together automatically also practice the syncopations. In addition to that, you can try this. Take the section starting in bar 44, for example. I take multiples of 4/16th notes and put a really, really heavy accent on the first and also weight on it. Do the 3 fast notes in between extra fast and light and precise. You can even go as far as lifting your hands after every strong beat. And add body movement to really overemphasize the falling on the 1. Then do that with the accents according to the piece. Take, for example, the second half of bar 48. And then we can practice it like this. Keep in mind, I still feel the 1 as the strong beat, but I feel it quietly, if that makes sense. The 1 should still feel like a 1. Don't turn the 4 into the new 1. So don't do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 1 still has a hint of an emphasis. That doesn't necessarily have to come across to the audience, by the way. It's just important that you feel it. You can't have rhythm without feeling it, no matter how precisely you work it out numerically. They're not too bad in this piece, but there's something about repeated notes that prevents them from ever really being easy in a nothing could go wrong sort of way. Pick a fingering that works for you. My suggested fingerings work for me, but you might prefer another. There isn't that much choice anyway. Take bar 8, for example. I like to practice playing one finger twice and twice as fast. So here I did it with the thumb. You can do it with the other fingers. Another thing that works is dotted rhythms and various other rhythmic alterations. Try and make the notes as short as possible, even if you're playing slowly. The shorter your staccato, the better you'll be able to play repeated notes. Or to put it another way, your repeated notes are always only as good as the key you're taking longest to let go. Combine any of these exercises also with doing it further into the keys in that direction. It's very hard and sometimes impossible, but where you can do it, I find it helps a great deal. Leave out rests when practicing hands separately. It gets increasingly difficult as you get faster, but it's very, very helpful for passages like this. Also, we can practice the voices separately, and for example, we'd play the left hand and then just the upper voice of the right hand. And you can also do it by playing the other voice but only touching the keys. What also works very well to do that with the hand separate. So one hand is playing properly, the other hand is just touching the keys. And I did a lot of half visualization work in this piece. For those of you who don't know, that's when you play the one hand and you just imagine yourself playing the other. One can usually only do it very slowly because it takes a lot of concentration. Try practicing it all in pianissimo. Despite how energetic this piece is, it's still often in piano or mezzo piano, and it's a lot more effective if you can develop the tonal control to have a higher dynamic range. Okay, I'd be interested in how these tips work out for you, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Take care.